How you doing, folks? This is Bob Gums, bringing you the Concerned Forum over here from Kampala, Uganda. Now, I hope all of you are doing well. And this is kind of a how should I say, off the shoulder type broadcast because I've been hearing so much today, and we've had a very rainy day here in Kampala. It's kind of like being in Vietnam. You know, you have the monsoon, the rains, and what have you. I don't believe we are in the monsoon season yet. Are we, Nan? This is not the monsoon season, right? Where it rains all the time, every day. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet. What month does that usually start, by the way?
I think it will like I think on April.
August, September, or?
I think on August.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have, say again? Ah, November, okay. Yeah, because we don't have winter here. That lovely voice in the background is Nakia. I call her Nan. She's is soon to be my wife, and she's good people. She's good people. Like most of the people that I've come across here in Uganda, they're very, very good people. And as you know, this is the Concerned Forum, and I was doing it in Manhattan, there in New York, with the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And I'm trying to see if I can possibly uh, do it. What's the proper phrase? Continental or incontinental or whatever between Africa and America, put it that way. And I'm very fortunate that I was able to meet the young lady. And hey, good things happen. Even when you're trying to concentrate on business, sometimes we're fortunate and we have affairs of the heart. Anyway, good evening. And like I say, this is not, prepared or anything, but we have so much news coming from America. And let's face it, what happens in America, I was getting ready to say, unfortunately, um, I don't know, time will tell, but it does affect the rest of the world. Everyone back home seems to be in an uproar about this whole Epstein thing. Okay? For what it's worth, my take on it, it's quite obvious to me from the little counterintelligence experience that I've had when I was in the Navy, working at the Pentagon and the White House. It appears to me that this guy Epstein was some type of intelligence asset, whether it was with Mossad or some other intelligence group, CIA, Saudi Arabia, whoever, okay? But to me, it definitely looks like intelligence. You don't drop out of college, get a job, what was it, teaching mathematics in a fancy school in Upper East Side Manhattan and get fired from that, and then wind up getting a gig with one of America's leading billionaires, and then he gives you the right to play with his money um, by giving you power of attorney, so on and so forth. Okay, things just don't happen in this world. And then he gets involved. His girlfriend is the daughter of a rich millionaire from Britain who also happens to have, I guess he had Israeli citizenship. And when he died, he had a grand state funeral in Israel, I guess as a reward for all the intel stuff that he did. So to say that, this guy was not some type of intelligence asset, I think would be rather naive. And then for our president to basically act like, oh, Epstein? Who's Epstein? I don't know Epstein. After already having admitted to the fact that him and Epstein were pretty tight for at least 15 years, best buddies, that type of thing. It just doesn't add up, folks. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm a little old in the tooth, as they say. In other words, I was around for, JFK, Bobby, Martin, Malcolm, the Church Commission, all right? So, like most thoughtful Americans, I have an idea about how the world runs. And I can only say that my time spent with DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, it kind of, how should I say, it sharpened my, how should I say, my observations about how intelligence works. Rich and powerful men, um, basically from all over the Western world, going to a private fantasy island. And then we have, young women, some as young as 12, 13, cavorting with these guys. And we find out that Mr. Epstein, his island paradise and his townhouse, I believe in New York, and the one in Florida, they were all rigged with, cameras, the whole bit. So I think that there is something there. There's not a question of, well, there's no there. Well, in this case, there is a there. And, I just wonder, talking about, oh, well, MAGA is really, they're turning against Trump and blah, 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 and they feel betrayed. I don't understand that. I guess maybe I know, God knows I am not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but I'm trying to figure out how in the hell can you feel betrayed when you make a selection that you were already warned was not a good selection. I mean, Donald Trump's background, it's not like this guy just dropped out of the sky, out of nowhere. We know he's a cheat. We know he's a draft dodger. We know that he likes his women. Not only his women, but anybody else's women, right? He likes to basically have people work for him and not pay them their just due. What has he got? Like 31 convictions on various things that he did that were wrong. And yet, MAGA and a lot of other American people decided that this guy was worthy to sit in the house of Jefferson and Lincoln and FDR and Teddy Roosevelt and Jack Kennedy. Pardon me, people, maybe I am slow. And as time has gone on and I'm a little bit older, maybe I'm just not hip to this new way of thinking. I thought that the reason when we want to get a job, especially a half decent job, the whole thing about resumes, I thought that that's what a resume was all about. so that the prospective employer would be able to judge a person and say, well, hey, this person, this guy, this gal has done this or that. He knows a little bit or she knows a little bit about this or that. And really, it's supposed to be like, hey, this is who I am. This gives you an idea of what I've done. And yeah, I think I'm worthy to work for you. Now, as a thumbnail sketch, I thought that that's what a resume was all about. But then you have this guy who just pops in, I'm talking about Donald Trump. And in terms of character, uh, it's not a very good character reference. And what I find so striking is that we who live in the Northeast, uh, we know all about Donald. Excuse me. We know all about Donald. And now he has lied and betrayed people. His tendency towards, how should we say, racism and what have you. But all you good folks out there in so-called middle America, you MAGA people, you QAnon people, why would you think that someone like him, why would you pick someone like him as your God? I don't understand that. Is it that you hate uh, brown people, dark people that much? That you feel that you're looking for a champion and you come up with Donald Trump? Um, I don't know, maybe what I said just now was not politically correct, but it's true. Why the hell would you vote for a guy that was convicted, was it, 30 times? All kinds of shit, sexual depravity, business, business cheating. I mean, just all kinds of shit. And it really, I think that's something that I will go to my grave trying to figure out. People, you're so hung up on dark people so much that this is what you put in the House of Lincoln. I can't rationalize it. And then you tell me now that, oh, well, MAGA is really, they're really steamed. And what does their hero do? Right? Donald tells you, hey, look, let's forget this whole Epstein thing. And if you can't forget it, then the hell with you. I don't want your vote. I don't want your support. Now, someone has to explain to me what kind of leadership is that? You don't, we're supposed to teach our children the values of honesty, morality, you be a person of your word, you don't disrespect people, and so on and so forth. And then you put this guy in the White House. This guy who thinks that people like me, I'm a disabled veteran, by the way, go Navy, uh, who says that he doesn't want to have disfigured disabled veterans at any of his fancy parties in the White House. Now, I'm fortunate. I have a limp from my service in the Navy, but I'm thinking now of people who have, faces been disfigured. They might be missing an arm or a leg. And this president says that he doesn't want people like that in the White House when they're having their soirees, their fancy balls, parties, what have you. And this is who you voted for. You, when that young man, what's his name, Kaepernick, uh, the brother with the interesting European sounding name, Kaepernick, right? I know I probably got it wrong, and I mean no disrespect. But all this man wanted to do was take a knee to show concern for the amount of people of color who have been abused by law enforcement. And quite frankly, he was lucky that the only thing that happened to him was that he was pushed out of the NFL. Because I can just about guarantee you, if this was about 60, 70 years ago, they would have probably tried to lynch the poor man. That rings MAGA bells. But the fact that this guy Trump was a draft dodger, was it 5 or 6 times? The fact that he says that about dead veterans, why did they do it? You know, they're a bunch of losers. That brings no reaction to MAGA people, to Trump supporters. I think that what we need to, people like that in this country, I think that what you need to do, you really need to take a look in the mirror. Okay? And quite frankly, I admit, I have an axe to grind. There are a lot of axes in this country that need to be grind. Okay? For very good reasons. I think I just finished speaking about one of them. Now, the thing about MAGA that really ticks me off, you allowed this guy Trump to infect your brain to the point that you try to, well, you didn't try, you did. You stormed the Capitol, okay? You literally tried to take our capital of the United States, where Congress sits and where, the Congress people, the senators have their offices and all that good stuff. You literally tore it apart. You did feces, right, bowel movements, smeared it across the desk and the walls of our representatives. You say the people who did that were really patriots. The first chance you got to put the person that led you to do that into the White House, that's what you did. And then you want to talk about USA, USA. I really have a difficult time understanding that. I believe because, as I say, I'm living in Uganda, which is kind of an inland crossroads of people from Africa, Saudi Arabia, Europe, China. And they definitely have a hard time understanding just what the hell is happening to the United States. And now MAGA seems to be upset. Oh my goodness. We find there's a possibility that Donald Trump has been lying to us. Oh, no shit. I mean, it's to me, it's unbelievable. It really is. You, it's like you have no concern of character. Um, and I'll tell you quite frankly, I'll be honest about it. His comments, his actions during Vietnam, and his comments about veterans, let's say it definitely puts me, well, what do the right wing people call it? Trump derangement syndrome. See? Yes, I am deranged. When the guy that's supposed to be the leader of the so-called free world makes such derogatory comments about veterans after he himself being a draft dodger, and then has the nerve to talk about our modern, nowadays, U.S. military. Yeah, baby, I got big problems with that. I really do. Mm. And I have a problem with so-called mainstream American media because they don't seem like they were ever interested in calling this guy out. All right, and it's sad. Now, I've had a piece of my spine removed, and hence the limp, and hence some of the medication I have to take because sometimes it hurts. But that's okay because if I was given the opportunity to serve my country again, go back in the Navy and do it again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Okay. But what makes me, what really pisses me off is the fact that MAGA, so-called middle America, you put a guy in the White House that really just wouldn't give a damn about military people. I think that that's one of the reasons why he concentrates so much on ICE. What is that? ICE? Because I think that Donald has a problem. Whatever goofy scheme that he has to try and project his power, he knows that he cannot use the military as a part of it. Because I think, and I'm not just talking about your general officers, I think even the, regular military, NCOs, and, enlisted folks, I think that they have finally seen through Donald Trump, quite frankly. In his eyes, military people are nothing but pawns, okay? If you happen to be in the military and you appear to be Latino slash Hispanic, you have to worry about being deported. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say that regular military people, Donald has no friends there, not in any large numbers, number one. Number two, our military, thank God, is apolitical, right? We're not into the politics. We have a job to do. I would caution Mr. Trump, uh, don't push your luck with that. Seriously. Don't push your luck with that. Because we take an oath in the military, just like government employees, we take an oath to the Constitution. We don't take it to any particular president, okay? We have a Constitution that we follow. And that is, to me, one of the glories of America. Right wingers always talk about, I remember when Obama was in the White House, oh, he just doesn't give America our uniqueness. Well, guess what? That's one of the things about America being so unique. We take an oath to defend the Constitution. And I think that that's something that Donald finds, I think he has a real problem with that. Just like he has a problem with our amendments, like freedom of speech. I think what happened with the Colbert Show, apparently Trump talked to the bigwigs at CBS, and they pushed out Colbert, right? My personal opinion, I think that it's time that people start to boycott CBS, and I think that they should boycott anybody that advertises on CBS. We are fighting against people who don't believe in democracy, who don't believe in the American way of life, right? Our freedoms. You got to remember something. We're one of the few countries where you have a right to talk nonsense and to be an asshole, right? Uh, don't take my word for it. Look at MTG, right? Uh, we have this right, and we have these rights for a number of reasons. The main one being that the founders of this country, in spite of their, how should I say, lapse in terms of the whole slavery and women's rights issues, basically they were on point because they read history. They know, they knew their history. And they knew what happens when you give religion too much power, right? When you give any government authority the power to silence free speech, intellectual discourse, right? That the ramifications are bad. And see, I would suggest that all these moguls who run these big media empires, networks, and whatnot, I think that they need to maybe turn their personal clock back and remember the things that they learned when they was in the 7th and 8th grade about our Constitution, about checks and balances, right? Mandami, right? Keep on what you're doing. But the thing that got him, because I'm moving into another subject here, why is it that the whole establishment, Republican and Democrat, why are you jumping on Mandami, right? Negatively. Why? Well, because when asked what's the first thing or where would he go when he became mayor, if he was elected mayor, and he told them, I'm not going to damn place. I'm going to take care of the problems in New York. And for some reason, that brought down it brought down the building, the walls of the church, of the temple, what have you, right? Because you had a person who said that if I'm lucky enough to win the election to be the mayor of New York City, that my first priority would be to straighten out what the hell is going on with New York City. And I really, frankly, I would really like to talk to the moderators of that debate, and I would like to ask them, why in the hell, why would you ask a question like that? Now, of course, because I'm the one talking about free speech and what have you. And I mean, that's cool. But I'm just trying to figure out why in the hell, this guy is running for mayor of, let me get this right, New York City. And you want to ask a question about, well, if you were elected mayor of New York City, where would you go? What's the first place? Why are you asking a question like that? I don't understand it. Hmm. Maybe I'm naive as all hell, but I don't understand. Why the hell are you going to ask me? I'm busting my ass trying to get elected to be mayor of Peoria, Illinois. Why in the hell are you going to ask me what I'm going to do after I get elected? If I'm elected mayor of Peoria, Illinois, I'm going to deal with what the hell is going on in Peoria, Illinois. Hence, if I get elected the mayor of New York City, why are you going to ask me where I'm going to go? To me, that's like a crazy question. What's behind that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why the hell are you going to worry about where else am I going to go? If I'm elected mayor of New York City, I've already been where I need to be. I'm mayor of New York City, not the mayor of Jerusalem, not the mayor of Tel Aviv, but the mayor of New York City. And God knows we have more than enough problems in New York City to deal with. And because he said that, because Mandami said that, they unleashed the hounds of hell. Now, even though I'm, right now living in Uganda, I'm a New Yorker. I see a guy that says that he wants to try and fix things and make life better for people in New York. So why in the hell should I turn my back on this guy who wants to make my life in New York City better? I don't see the logic in that. And see, that moves me to another point. I understand that there was some bill or something. Um, and oddly enough, MTG was one of the sponsors, but she did it with Republican and Democratic support. A few Democrat supported her. Now, the problem I have uh, with MTG doing it. MTG, by the way, that's that lady in what is it, Georgia, all right? And she was the one that blamed Jewish people for flying around in spaceships over California, causing the fire. Because we've had a problem with huge fires in California and some other places, but no, most notably in California. And it's all due to climate change, right? And she said, well, hey, it's because Jews are shooting lasers from outer space, right? And that sounds crazy, right? As a matter of fact, it don't sound crazy, it is crazy, all right? But see, what she's saying now, and see, that's why you always have to be careful about what you say because your past will catch up with you. And Donald Trump, prime example, right? As unfortunately, to his sore amazement, it has come to find out. You have to be careful about what you say because it will come back to bite you on the keister. My solution to that is to speak what you believe and tell the truth at all times. Uh, no, I'm not. I am not down with the MTG crowd, okay? But I believe that when she talks about cutting back aid to Israel because of the decimation of what they have done to the Palestinian community, I agree with that, quite frankly. I'm an American. All right? I have been an American military person. I have carried the flag to distant parts of this planet, and because of the fact that I believe that America is supposed to stand for something. Israel is our ally. There's no two ways about that. But because they are, or happen to be, our ally, that does not mean that somehow we have given them a blank check upon our conscience. And what they have done in Palestine, what they have done to the women and children of Gaza, I think that should stir the conscience of any decent American, any decent human being, for God's sake. because it has been, it's unnecessary. And that's the first thing. The second thing is that when I criticize the Knesset, when I criticize the government of Israel, that does not make me anti-Semitic. I had some very traumatic experiences with anti-Semitism. My last tour in the Navy, and that was down in Jacksonville, Florida, when I was in the F-18 fighter squadron. And it cost me because I I had planned to do a straight 20 years at least in the Navy, and that whole experience, I went to war with the squadron, and my enlistment was shaped in such a way so that I did not have to stay for the whole war, and I took the opportunity to leave my squadron. Looking back upon it, I think that that was a mistake. But between concerns over my wife, my late wife, who was having a difficult pregnancy, and all the stuff that I had been through with that squadron, I said, well, this is a good time for me to leave and go into the reserves, which is what I did. So I don't need anyone to lecture me about anti-Semitism. But we have gotten to the point that when you criticize a sovereign nation about their policies, that somehow that makes you anti-Semitic. And that is wrong. That is very wrong. And I don't think that it is in America's best interest for America to be looked upon as, how should I say this, as the protector of the Israeli government, even when that government does things that are wrong. It's kind of like, you got two guys, one's short and pushy, right? And, you go into the bar, and the short guy is always, hey, causing trouble. Hey, you mess with me, I got my big brother here that'll whip your ass. And that's kind of how we're looked upon in Africa and the Middle East. And I don't think that that's good for my country. I don't think that it is good for Jewish people in general. And America needs to say, listen, man, we are buddies, we're down with you. But this stuff that you're doing to these people, uh, it's wrong. It is just wrong. And it has to stop. You are a sovereign nation. You can, do your own thing. But you are going someplace where we can't go. We cannot go with you here because it's wrong, period. And I understand now we have a question about Americans being killed in that whole area by so-called settlers. As an American, I can't support that. I'm sorry. And it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. The same way, if you have a situation where Black American, you have, a Black American is acting negatively and then tries to use as a cover, well, I'm Black and that's why I'm being um, called to account. I can't support the brother who would act in such a fashion. You know, because after almost 500 years of slavery, degradation, I understand what it means to be able to act with dignity and self-respect. Don't use my suffering as an excuse for bad behavior. I refuse to go along with that because right is right, no matter what color you are, what ethnicity you are. And I think that that's what happens in this situation that we have between this whole foreign policy thing about supporting Israel. Remember, in the Middle East, and look, believe me, I'm not getting into the whole thing about pro-Arab, pro-Muslim, okay? We know who started slavery in the Western world, okay? But you have to deal with people for what they're doing in your particular time period. And what Israel is doing is wrong. The Holocaust was one of the greatest in the Roman Catholic Church, infamia, right? One of the greatest infamia in Western history, okay? As far as I'm concerned, what happened to the Jews in the Holocaust, it ranks right up there with what happened to the to African people in the Congo under King Leopold in the 19th century. Something like about 15 to 20 million Africans was slaughtered because Leopold wanted that rubber, okay? And that also was a Holocaust. So I commiserate with the Jewish people and what the Nazis did in Central Europe to the millions of Jews, Gypsies, and Catholics and Protestants that the Hitler regime destroyed, especially the Jews. But I don't believe that that gives anyone the right to take it out on the Palestinians. I'm sorry, I can't see that. Okay? I'm an American. And no matter what problems we've had here in America in terms of race and hatred and what have you, the basic ideas are sound, right? They are good ideas, they're good beliefs. And I'm sorry, I can't buy into this. And at a time when there is so much pain and hurt here in America, you have veterans being thrown out in the street. You know, a vet gets a job, a disabled vet gets a job with the federal government, and now because of Trump and Elon Musk, you're fired, right? What's the value in that? What is the righteousness in that? People living in Appalachia, like West Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi, right? Who subsist primarily because they're able to get SNAP benefits, or, as you call food stamps. People losing their health care. See, one of the problems that we've had in this country, and that those big people, as they say sometimes, uh, they're able to grind the average American into poverty. So what they were able to do, they paint, poverty has a black or brown face. in America. And now we're finding out that poverty has not only a black or brown face, it also has a white face. Okay? And one of the amazing things about the Trump regime is the fact that so far, aside from the Latinos being dragged out of the country, the people that he has hurt the worst are the white working class and the white rural people that voted for him. He was supposed to be their champion. But they are the ones who are losing their health care, their Medicaid, right? Their schools, right? Their hospitals. You're doing all this while at the same time you are helping a government, not a people, but a government, right? Where they make sure that the people in that country are able to go to university without having to go bankrupt. The people that have the opportunity to have health care without going bankrupt. And we Americans are paying for that. You're paying to help a government, not a people, but a government commit genocide. So they are able to take care of their people, right? Israeli citizens. They're able to take care of them the way that they should be taken care of. Don't get me wrong. The government is right to make sure that you don't have to go bankrupt to go to the university or that you don't have to go bankrupt to get health care. They're doing the right thing. But by the same time, they're asking us to help them to continue to decimate Palestinians. And that's wrong. When any American representative, what's his name? That cat that lived up the road from me in Yonkers, for example, right? They decimated that guy. They decimated that young woman in what was it, Missouri, okay? Because she called into question what was happening in Palestine by the Israeli government. And that's not right, man. That is not right. We, as Americans, need to question that. It's that simple. And every time you try to raise the question, you're labeled as an anti-Semite. And I mean, I would really like to. I know I can't. Number one, I'm not 25 anymore. Okay, so the idea of just flying off the handle and busting somebody in the jaw, I don't have the physical capabilities that I used to. But you call me an anti-Semite, we're gonna have problems. Okay? I saw anti-Semitism when I was stationed in Florida, right? It is filthy, it is nasty, it is ugly. Okay? I think that people who get into this anti-Semite thing, they need to be tied up by their feet, hung upside down, and be whipped. Okay? That's how I feel about people who are into that anti-Semitism bag. But having said that, I must insist upon my right as an American to criticize what's supposed to be a friendly allied government. And if you're my friend and I decide to smoke about 2 or 3 joints and drink a quart of beer, and then say, well, hey, I'm gonna hop in the car and go go party somewhere, right? If you're my friend, you're supposed to tell me, yo, Rob, listen, man, you've been getting hot, man, this evening. And I don't think it's a good idea for you to get behind the wheel of a car. Because you might hurt yourself, and worse, hurt other people. What is it? Friends, don't let friends drive drunk. Okay? And I think it's time for America to be a true friend of Israel and tell them, yo, man, you need to chill out with this shit because you're making problems for you and for me. And that does not make me an anti-Semite. As a matter of fact, it makes me a person that cares about people, both Israeli and Palestinian. And I should not be labeled or be slammed with this whole anti-Semitic thing. And that's something else that really pisses me off about so-called red state America. Because a lot of the MAGA is basically built upon anti-Semitism. It's what's happening in this country is so crazy. It's like the nuts, like in the mental asylum, the nuts now have the keys to the mental asylum, right? Trump is running around talking about university presidents and university professors who are preaching anti-Semitism, yet this guy, Trump, had some of the biggest anti-Semites in America sitting down at the table in his home and in the White House. So what the hell is going on here? What kind of games are being played? I think that what we all need to do in this country, I think we need to sit down and sit down and start talking to each other and find out just what the hell is going on. You're giving a zillion amount of money to Israel, all right? I get cash, military hardware, okay? And you got American veterans living on the street. It doesn't add up to me. You got kids growing up in shelters, right? Homeless shelters, right? Or growing up in cars because people cannot afford to live. They can't afford to pay the rent where they live at, so they have to live in their cars. You got people who are walking around sick, ill, because they don't have health insurance. And yet our Congress just gives this money to Israel, where they, as far as I know, they can go to school for free. Doesn't cost them to go to university, right? They have health care. I, I don't, I just don't understand that. I really don't. And we have to ask ourselves, these people that we elect, who are they working for? Seriously, who the hell are they working for? And then you got a young man that's in New York that says, hey, listen, New York has a whole bunch of problems. I want to try and solve them. And the first place I'm going to go is the Gracie Mansion in New York and sit behind my desk and look through all the crap that's happening in this city and work out, plans and what have you to try and fix it. And he is condemned from the East Coast to the West. We need to figure out why that is. And don't have me this bullshit about, oh, he's a socialist commie. Oh, crap with that, right? Crap with that. The man's a democratic socialist. He is just like the boys that I served next to when I was in NATO, from the Netherlands, uh, Britain, um, Germany, okay? Because being a democratic socialist is not a big thing in Western Europe. It's just another political party. But here in America, it is used as a boogeyman to scare people. And when Trump talks about, oh, well, yeah, those radical leftist Democrat, man, what, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is radical left. And what the hell is being, oh, yeah, well, he's woke. That's part of that woke philosophy. I still ain't figured that one out yet. Woke, the opposite of asleep. So you're telling me that to be a good American, I have to be asleep. Can you remember when I was a kid going to St. Thomas the Apostle? Bobby, wake up, get your ass out of bed, get woke and take your shower and get your clothes on and get your butt to school. So looking back on it, I'm assuming that my mom was telling me a good thing, right? Wake up, get out of bed, wash up, get your clothes on, and head to school so you can get an education. Now, what in the hell was wrong with that? But now, between Trump, MAGA, and what used to be the Republican Party, apparently being awake and paying attention to what the hell was going on, that is now a bad thing. And you have DEI, DEI. Oh, so somehow showing that you are diverse, and that you give opportunity to people who might not have gotten it before, somehow that's supposed to be a bad thing. Well, damn it, your Secretary of State, the child of Cuban refugees coming through Florida, I thought that was a good thing. This kid comes to, I don't know if he was born here or if his parents, no, I think he was born in Cuba, but they brought him over here. Either way, he was able to go to school, and I understand that he took advantage of all the programs, student aid, student loan, what have you, got his bachelor's, got a law degree. Now he's Secretary of State. That's DEI all over. Was that a bad thing? No. It was a great thing. I mean, I can't stand his politics, but I'm glad that he was able to take advantage of the things that we have here in America, and really, obviously, the man Secretary of State, he went far. And that's good. We got a vice president, his book he wrote, Hillbilly Tragedy or Elegy or whatever the hell it was. And he went to Harvard, for God's sake. Well, I can tell you that places like Harvard were not ordinarily open to poor white kids from the sticks of Appalachia. But because of, especially because of his military service, he was able to do that. So if you're talking about DEI hires, take a look at your Secretary of State, take a look at your Vice President. And again, I can't stand the Vice President's politics, but I am happy for him. I glory in him as an American, because ain't that supposed to be the American dream? And I look at all these women running around in both parties, Democrat, Republican, right, doing their thing. Some of whom their politics I can't stand. But I am happy as hell over the fact that they're able to be in those positions. And I don't understand. Why is that a bad thing? And the fact that MAGA, Trump, these people, they're even trying to infect our military. We are still an overseas nation. We have a lot of commitments and business overseas. Do you think it's a good thing to have military, you send military people to Africa, and what do they see? They see whites, they see blacks, they see Asians, they see Latino. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Listening, and looking at Trump and his Secretary of Defense, right? What do they want? They want an all-white military? That's why I have absolutely no respect as political figures. No, let me change that, because as human beings, they deserve respect. But in terms of actually having respect for the things that they say, I could care less. They're garbage. Because as a black Republican, you're going to support an administration that goes to the Pentagon and all those pictures and what have you of black, and basically talking about a different time period of black men, right, fighting for this country, giving their lives for this country, the wars against Native Americans, unfortunately, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the heroes, this administration tears them off the freaking walls. And you don't say a damn word about that. That's why I think people like, what's his name? Tim Scott? What's the other guy on ESPN? What's his name? Steven Smith or whatever? I think those people are ridiculous. Well, this is about Trump. There's nothing about Trump to like. He says your history is garbage. It doesn't count. It doesn't exist. See, this is what we're facing in this country. Okay? We are facing an organized effort to tear us apart. And I tell you quite frankly, I don't, this business about, well, we should all get together. And those are the only type of speeches that the mainstream media pushes about Martin Luther King. But they don't talk about his economic policies, right? That's what got King killed, by the way. It wasn't because of the fact that he integrated a bathroom. It wasn't about the fact that he tried to, well, I want you to be able to sit down at Woolworths and have a cheeseburger, just like a white person, right? That didn't cost society anything. But when he started talking about, what was it, Operation Push, and having that big movement in D.C., and some people would say that he got sidetracked to Memphis, where he was slaughtered, okay? I disagree with that, because I think that when he went to help those garbage collectors in Memphis, that's what he was all about. And the thing that he was doing in D.C., if you notice, it wasn't just about black people. He was talking about the basic inequities in the American economic system. And see, that is the problem here in the United States. Basically, the whole idea is to basically keep people ignorant, right? So that we tear at each other instead of coming together. And as long as we allow political parties, political demagogues to keep us clawing at each other's throats, we are going to go continually heading down in the toilet. And we have to stop that. We have to talk to each other. We have to reach out to each other. And listen, this thing I'm doing now, this show I'm doing this evening, It's really right off the top of my shoulder, right off the top of my head. But I just been hearing so much bullshit that I felt that I had to speak. Okay? Listen, if you see me on YouTube, if you like what I have to say, give it a like. I'd appreciate it. Because we're trying to start something here. We're trying to bring us all together. And I know it's a mountain, a whole mountain of work, but it has to be done. Not just for our sake, but for our children, our grandchildren, and for all the people that shed blood to bring America into being. We owe them. So listen, take care. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you soon. Peace. Bob Gums with the Concerned Forum. Have a great night. Take care.